So 2 days ago, I did a video, and it was like an hour and 37 minutes long, I believe it was. And in it, um, I pointed out how where it was in Revelation 18, where it said that the Gentiles drank of the wine of the fornication of the great whore. All the Gentiles did. Now, I pointed out you have to use the word Gentiles because if you go to Strong's Concordance, that's exactly what it says. And I've been trying to explain on this YouTube channel and to people that I know that you cannot use the King James Version and get understanding from the Bible. It's not possible. They have deliberately clouded the Bible so you cannot understand it. So today I'm going to go a little bit more in depth into that. We'll start in Revelation 18 and we'll use Strong's Concordance and we'll go to that scripture. But there is another scripture that says exactly the same thing. Right here, we'll start in verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lit with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, is become the habitation of devils. Devils. I'm going to explain that to you in just a minute. And the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Because every Gentile, folks, every Gentile has drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth, the rulers of the earth, have also committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now what I want to do is hold my place here and go to Revelation 14. We'll once again go to Strong's Concordance. Now Strong's Concordance is not 100%, but it's a whole lot better than King James Version. All right. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven. This is 14 and verse 6, having the everlasting gospel. I have explained on this YouTube channel exactly what the gospel is. It is the salvation of Israel and its restoration of its people and everything Israel, all 12 tribes, back to the Holy Land as promised in Yehoshua 1 verses 1 through 4. And to be a light to the Gentiles. And a light to the Gentiles. That is the gospel. And I have proven that the Gentiles have rejected that gospel. I have pointed this out in many of my videos over and over again, and I will continue to do so. Unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every Gentile and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear Yehovah, not God, fear Yehovah, and give glory unto him, because the hour of his judgment has come. Do it now, because the hour of his judgment is come. Worship the one who made heaven and the earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. That's Yehovah who did it. Jesus did not. No other entity ever conceived of on the earth had anything to do with creation. Only Yehovah. That's it. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because. Why? Because she made all Gentiles, right here, drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So because of that, anyone, the third angel followed, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast, wild beast, wild versus domestic. Israel is domestic, the Gentiles are wild, according to Paul in Romans 11. If anyone worship the wild beast and or his image, his statue. Folks, if you want to be safe about the statue, the graven image, just don't worship any graven image at all, and you'll be safe from that. But you see, that great city, Babylon, has caused all the Gentiles to bow down and worship a graven image. They call him Jesus Christos, Jesus Krios, or Jesus Christ. That's what they call him. And as I have pointed out so many times, you cannot make Jesus Christ sound like Yehoshua Messiah. You cannot make Jesus Christ's definition the same as Yehoshua Messiah. It is not possible. And his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yehovah. All right. Is the wine of the wrath of Yehovah, is there a similarity between that and the wine of the wrath of Rome's fornication? Well, the wine of the wrath is essentially the same. It is agony, pain, and death. But the wine of the wrath of Rome's fornication was exacted on those who refused to obey Rome. And so the Gentiles drank of the wine of the wrath of her fornication and then proceeded to act out and carry out the rape, pillage, and murder against anyone who did not worship the beast, that graven image, or the mark. Who were the victims? They were the Jews and many Anabaptists, Seventh-day Anabaptists, and others. The Bible calls them the martyrs of Yehoshua. All right? So, because of this, they're going to be forced to drink of the wine of the wrath of Yehovah, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And they will be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. All right? And then it says, here is the patience of the Kodesh, that's the Jews. And here are they who keep, or here is the patience of the martyrs of Yehoshua, because if you go to Revelation 18, let me show you what it says. See if I can find it now. Yeah, here we go. And in her was found the blood of the prophets, the Kodesh, That's not the one I was looking for, but it's the same thing. It was right in here. Anyway, it's in here somewhere, but it means the same thing. All right. So, what is the symbol of the beast? What is the mark of the beast? I've gone over this so many times before. And what is the image of the beast? All right, so this is the symbol of the Vatican, the head of the Roman Empire. What do you see? You see a pair of keys in a cross. And inside each one of the keys is another cross. All right? So we see crosses here. Now, let's look at a few more things, and then you see the Byzantine coat of arms, which is a shield with a cross on it. All right? And then you can look at Roman shields, as I have pointed out many times before. They all have variations of a cross. Let's see. We go down further. You can see more variations of a cross. Right here, you can see the star of Ishtar. That's what this is. The Roman shield with the star of Ishtar. You can see the form of the cross right here. You can see the form of the cross right here. All right, so let's look at the shield of the Crusaders. Now we have a more defined mark of the beast. The murderers of the holy people, the Kodesh. And you can see clearly that, let's see, I need to do a search here. Martyrs. The 17. Okay, so I should have done 17 as well. So I'll do that. Revelation 17 and verse 6. Strong's Concordance. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the Kodesh and with the blood of the martyrs of not Jesus, but Yehoshua. Yehoshua, not Jesus. This is the mystery iniquity of the Babylonian religion. Okay? They superimpose their names, their customs upon the truth. This is what they've done. And this is how they've caused the Gentiles to drink of the wine of their fornication. They did so by superimposing their falsehoods upon the truth. And the Gentiles gladly accepted it, but the Jews and the followers of Yehoshua, the martyrs of Yehoshua, did not. They did not. Now, we'll look at a few more. So we see the symbol of the Vatican. All right, and so let's go and look at flags of Europe. Now, not all flags of Europe has this, but most of them do. All right, so let's have a look at this. Look how many crosses there are. That doesn't belong there. Turkey is not Europe. All right, but you see, let me see if I can get something up here. All right, you see Denmark, Norway, and Germany. You know, back in the day, had their swastika and iron cross. Those were all crosses. Russia, is there, not Russia, but Russia does have their own signs and symbols of a cross. Finland, what is this? These are, I can't, let's try this. Still can't see it. It's crazy. I can't see it. But you can look at this and you can see all these flags with crosses on it. Okay. Now, you can look at all world flags and you can see that as well. All right. So that's interesting to note. Now, what about the Holy Roman Empire flag? I've never seen it before. Let me look it up. Okay, that's the bird with the two heads. Let's look at their seal. What do we have here? Order of the Holy Roman Empire. And there you have it, folks. Mark of the beast on top. The cross here, cross there, into a cross much like the Constantine cross. All right, where am I going with this? Let me show you something. Here is a list of sigils or seals of demons. Are you ready? Number 1, Baal, Baal. You see this right here? You have 2 crosses, one pointing toward the upper left, one pointing toward the upper right, upon a body of a fly that is in a cross. This is a demon. This is a seal of a demon. And here's another cross. There's another one with 1, 2, 3, 4 crosses. Another one with 2 crosses. Do you get my point? The cross is a symbol of demons. So why is it that Yehoshua said these words, take up your staru and follow him? Because the staru was the execution tool of the Romans against those who did not follow the Roman way. And so, following Yehoshua would most certainly get you nailed up on the staru. So why do Christians bow down and worship that foul and evil thing? Because that woman, Babylon the Great, aka Rome, caused them to drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Now, I want to go to another statement in the book of Revelation. Should not worship devils. Revelation 9 and verse 20. Now the rest of men which were not killed by these plagues refused to repent of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils. They should not worship these cross devils. These cross-wearing devils is what they are. And idols of gold, silver, brass, stone, and wood. And much of Christianity today, especially in the United States, they prefer the one who is made of wood. You see it in every house of worship, in every Christian house of worship, you see it. That can neither see, hear, nor walk. This is in Revelation. Now, what would be the point here in Revelation 9 being at the end time if men no longer worship devils or idols made of gold, silver, and brass, and stone, or of wood? Well, the truth is, the vast majority of mankind, aka the Gentiles, that's exactly what they worship in their houses of worship. So we go back to and his image. His image. What image? Let's see here. Where's my, here we go. This image. Now, why did I type in XESUS? Because in that name is the number of the beast. That's right. This is his image. They worship this image. And then they worship his name and have the number of his name. XES. So let's look at XES. Let's find out what it means. We'll look at what others have pointed out concerning the Muslims, and they do it too, which proves that the Muslim religion is a Protestant religion. Yes, indeed, folks. It is a Protestant religion. They, like Christians, also believe in Jesus Christ. I personally do not believe in Jesus Christ. And the Jews do not believe in Jesus Christ. The ones who do, they're fakes and frauds. The real Messiah, his name is Yehoshua. Has nothing to do with Jesus Christos or Jesus Christ. So, to the Muslims, XES is in the name of Allah, but to the Christians, it is the first three letters of the name of their false idol. XESUS. Let's see here. Now, here we have on Lent people putting the mark of the beast on their forehead. All right? So, is it Revelation 14? Yes. All right, here we go. The smoke of their torment, verse 11, ascends up in a space of time. For an age. For a space of time. A space of time. They have no rest, nor day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receives the mark of his name. The mark of his name is an X or a cross. Because you see, X and a cross is exactly the same thing. And they put it on their forehead. All right? See if, yeah, they put this mark on their forehead on Ash Wednesday. All right? Where was I? 14. And whosoever receives the mark of his name. Now, those are on that side of the chasm between the holy and the righteous. And who is on this side? Here is the patience of the saints on this side. This is the patience of the holy people. All Israel, the elect. And also, but not just the Jews, but also those that kept the commandments of Yehovah. One of them was, you shall have no other God before him. You're not supposed to bow down to graven images among them. And the faith of, not Jesus, Yehoshua. All right. I think I pointed out that this is the Holy Roman Empire's order of the seal of the new order of the Holy Roman Empire by, well, Tony Toucan, but you can see that right here. It's the same as the Constantine cross. All right, so I think I'm done with that. Done with that. I may hold on to that first for a minute. And we'll look at this. As you can see, Chi stigma, XES, is 666. That's what it is. Okay? This is the number that is in his name. And back in the 1500s, there were no such a thing as a J. Didn't exist. Or at least before, yeah, I think it was in the 1500s. So it was XESUS. All right. There's your XES. And somebody's pointing out here their Christograms, which is they're accurate about. And then, of course, you have more of this in these pictures. Those are all And this is the mark of the beast in his right hand. And that's how they do their hand in such a weird way, and then they go and touch their forehead, their stomach, and something else. I have no idea what these people do. All right. And with this symbol right here, the sun gods, Isis, Horus, and I don't know who this SEB is. All right. Now, I am not affiliated with this Adventist Online person, whoever they are, but they've got it figured out. I'm not the only one who's talking about this, folks, okay? All right. So right here we see the sign of the cross is made by touching the hands sequentially to the forehead, lower chest or stomach, and both shoulders, accompanied by the Trinitarian formula at the forehead, etc. This is how you do the mark with your right hand. Notice this is the right hand. All right. So once again, I'm pointing out to you the seals of demons. The crosses are all over them. You can plainly see, but you know, the big one would be Baal. Beelzebub, or Baal-zebub, the god of flies. And as you can see, this is an image of a fly. A cross going this way, two crosses here, and one cross on the body. All right. So now I want to go to once again Revelation 14, just like Revelation 18. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion. Now, some of you who are claiming that when the lamb comes, that you're going to meet him in heaven, and there you will stay with him. Mount Zion is in Jerusalem on the earth, folks. And with him 144,000 having his father's name written in their foreheads. What is the father's name? Yehovah. It's not a cross. And I heard a voice from heaven, and the voice of many waters, as it were of great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps, and they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. And no one had the power to learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the Eretz. And these were not defiled with women, much like, and it says, for they are extended to men that have not known women. All right. There being the first fruits unto Yehovah and unto the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, and they are before the throne of Yehovah. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto those that dwell upon the earth, and to every Gentile, kindred, and tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, and I've gone over this just a few minutes ago. Now we read this part, verse 9, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship... Oh, wait a minute, I wanted to get to verse 8. That's where I wanted to go. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she gave to drink every Gentile. Every Gentile. the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Now, I accidentally let me see if I can find it. Martin Luther plain the Jews eat. And I will let Google fill in the blank. Let's see if I can find it that way. Get my spelling correctly here first, and maybe I can find it. Is it this one? No, it's not this one. Unfortunately, I lost it. But here it goes. They did that. I even saw. Here we. There's. All right. Here we go. Now I know where it was. When Martin Luther accused the Jews of eating Satan's shite. Exactly. 5 centuries ago, Martin Luther sparked what would become the Protestant Reformation by nailing a list of criticism on the church door in Germany. He decried what he saw as abusive and corruptive practices in Roman Catholic Church, but reserved a very special kind of hatred for the Jews, whom he branded as a cursed and a miserable people. In Luther's early years, he seemed concerned with the plight of the European Jews and held out high hopes of converting them to his branch of Christianity. When wide-scale conversion failed to pan out, in other words, they didn't fall for his lies. They weren't going to worship the mark of the beast or the number of his name. They're not going to bow down to their graven images of the Gentiles. And he slipped into deep religious anti-Semitism. In other words, he tried to show himself to be benevolent as an angel of light. But when the Jews didn't bite, the mask came off and an angel of death was exposed. Calling for violent persecutions of Jews, Luther often wrote of Jewish worship which he saw as devilish and repulsive, even describing Jews as worshiping and eating Satan's feces. Well, he didn't say it that way. He said shite. So here are the most notable anti-Semitic things Luther wrote. Now, folks, what I'm getting at here is, you think as long as you're not Catholic, you're okay. Well, you're wrong. Because you see, these 8 anti-Semitic things that Luther wrote are the wine of the wrath of fornicating with that whore. That's what this is. So he says, I published this little book so that I might be found among those who oppose such poisonous activities of the Jews. Number 2, set fire to the synagogues or schools and bury and cover with dirt whatever will not burn, so that no man will ever again see a stone or cinder of them. This will be in honor of, not our Lord, but their Lord, and of Christendom, so that their false god might see that they are Christians. Well, the mighty Yehovah is also going to see. Then he says, I advise their houses be razed and destroyed. That is the wine of the wrath of fornicating with that whore Rome. For they pursue in them the same aims as in their synagogues, instead they might be lodged under a roof or a barn like gypsies. This will bring home to them that they are not masters of our country as they boast, but they are in living exile and in captivity, as they incessantly wail and lament about us before, as he said, God. Then number 4, I advise that usury prohibited to them, that all cash and treasure of silver and of gold be stolen from them. Yes. Breaking of the commandments, folks. Murder and stealing and lying, bearing false witness against their neighbors. I command putting a flail, an axe, or a hoe, or a spade, a distaff, or a spindle into the hands of the young, strong Jews. In other words, make them slaves. Now, number 6, accordingly, it must and dare not be considered a trifling matter, but a most serious one, to seek counsel against this and to save our souls from the Jews, that is, from the devil and from eternal death. Now, pardon me, but Yehoshua, the Messiah, is a Jew. So he's calling the Jew the devil. They call Yehoshua, Messiah, the devil. This is a creed of drinking of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So now, because the Gentiles have done this, and they were caused to do this by that woman, Rome, into every Gentile religion, including the Muslim religion. Same thing. Right here, as I pointed out, it says, chapter 17, I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of not Jesus but Yehoshua. Okay, go back to here. I think it's here. Because she made all the Gentiles drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. It should be very clear to you right now what that means. And so, because she caused all the nations to drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, all the Gentiles to do so, she had all these nations are going to have to drink of the wine of the wrath of Yehovah. Chapter 14, verse 10. If anyone worships the beast and or his image, well, that covers all of Christianity. It also, let's see, and receives his mark on his forehead or does it with his hand, he himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of Yehovah, which is poured out in full strength into the cup of his indignation. So you think you belong to a benevolent religion, do you? You say, none of my forefathers have ever done anything like this. We Baptists, no, we don't do stuff like that. We never had anything like that in our history, right? Well, if you partake of the symbols of that murderous, rampaging, anti-Semitic woman if you just partake of her symbols. You are her, or you have committed fornication with her, therefore you are her, and you must receive the you must drink of the wine of the wrath of Yehovah, which is poured out in full strength into the cup of his indignation. And if this novel coronavirus is just the beginning of it, can you imagine what the end of it is? In fact, if we go to Luke 21, if we go to Luke 21, you will see that this happens even before. I'll show you. I think it's 21. And there shall be sign in the sun and the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth suneko of nations. That is seized with illness upon the Gentiles. Go to Strong's Concordance once again to point it out. Sunoke. Go to the original. Suneko. Afflicted, to be seized with illness, to be afflicted with sickness. Okay? As I'm saying, if this is just the beginning, it says there should be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars and upon the earth, suneko of the Gentiles, and perplexity with the waves and the seas roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming upon the earth. If we go to Revelation 6, you will see this. And I beheld, when he opened up the sixth seal, lo, there was a great earthquake. The sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell upon the earth as a fig tree casts her untimely figs, and she is shaken with a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll, as it is rolled when it's rolled together, and every mountain and coastland were moved out of their places, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bond and free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks, and said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sits on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For great is the day of his wrath, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? This all happens before the great and terrible day of Yehovah's wrath. And so if the seizing of the nations with illness is just the beginning, and we haven't even scratched the surface, folks. We haven't even started yet. We go to Joel 2. We see all of this right here. Revelation 6, verse 12 through 17 is before the great and terrible day of Yehovah's wrath. Joel 2. The sun shall be turned to darkness, and the moon into blood before, or it says the facing, which means before. To turn. So that's the turning point. Before. Facing, before. You'll see it before in here. Before in the front, before in front of their face. So it is the turning point. All right. Before the great and terrible day of Yehovah come. Now, I've been talking about this coronavirus business and how it portends or possibly portends the end. And my answer has always been, we shall see. But as we get now, half the world's population is in lockdown. Half. It's not getting any better, is it? No. What's going to happen when the whole world is in lockdown? Crops don't grow themselves, do they? Groceries do not go to the grocery store by themselves, do they? And yet, it says right here, and he's going to show wonders in the heavens. That would be the meteors falling from the sky and on the earth. The earthquake written about in Revelation 6, the great earthquake. So the wonders in the heavens will be the meteors falling from the sky, and in the earth, the earthquakes, and blood, fire, and pillars of smoke. That is volcanic activity. And volcanic activity, molten magma, lots of it falling into the Mediterranean Sea, will indeed cause the Mediterranean Sea to turn red as blood. So I don't think I've said this before, but if this is it, if this is the beginning, what do I expect next? I'm not predicting. I don't predict anything, folks. Please understand this. I am expecting an earthquake, a massive earthquake, and meteors falling out of the sky. Now, for those of you who have not been paying attention, not that it matters much, but a few days ago, a 6.5 earthquake struck right over top of the magma chamber at Yellowstone National Park in Idaho. Now, that can't keep happening without Yellowstone blowing. But my opinion has always been the great earthquakes and the volcanic activity is going to happen in the Mediterranean Sea, but not exclusively to the Mediterranean Sea. So that's where I'm looking for this event to occur. When? I would say by the time that all the nations are in lockdown, wait for the next shoe to drop. Now, if this thing turns out to reverse itself, I don't see how it can, but if it does, then that's a whole nother story. But if it doesn't, if all the nations, if almost 100% of the population finds themselves in lockdown, look for a great earthquake and meteors falling out of the sky and volcanic activity. As I have pointed out, the 77s of Daniel 9 are finished. From Nehemiah's announcement that the street and the wall were finished until Messiah was cut off was 434 years. That's 62 sevens. The 1 week of Daniel 9, when the prince of the Romans, Titus, came, began to besiege the city in 67. 3.5 years later, in 70, later 70, they broke into the city, and the temple was burning. By 74, 7 years later, the final vestiges of the rebellion was put down when, at the siege of Masada, when the last of the Jewish holdouts committed suicide. And that covenant that all of Christianity today banks on in the future, it was the covenant that Titus, the Roman general, made with his legions, not to burn the temple. But the covenant was broken, and they did. Then the final 7 sevens, the clock began ticking when the Israelis, the IDF, took East Jerusalem, and the announcement was made to rebuild Jerusalem. From that point unto Messiah the Prince, or being time for Messiah the Prince to come, not Messiah the suffering servant, but Messiah the Prince, was 49 years. 49 years expired on the Roman year of 2016. It came and went. And just so you know, in Matthew 24, where it says immediately after those days, does not mean immediately after those days. All right. Okay, so it says immediately after the tribulation of those days. That's Israel's tribulation, sun and the moon. But wait a minute, the word immediately doesn't belong there. I'll show you. As I get to Strong's Concordance, and then I'll go to Mark as proof. Where is this? All right, immediately after tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. How many times have we read this today? And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. So that would be meteorites falling from the sky. We also saw there's going to be a great earthquake, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man. But wait a minute, immediately. It is but, not immediately, but. So 3, 4, 5, 10 years can go by and nothing happen. Let's look at Mark 13:24. But in those days after that tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall, of heaven shall fall, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. See? Why did the King James translators have but in those days after that tribulation? But in the days after that tribulation. That's way different from immediately, isn't it? Folks, this is the reason why if you exclusively use King James Version without using Strong's Concordance, you will never get it right. You will always have it wrong. 100% wrong. When I say 100% wrong, what I mean is you will buy the lie that the church has somehow replaced Israel. You will buy the lie that Jesus replaced Yehoshua. You will buy the lie that God replaced Yehovah. You will buy the lie that Sunday replaced the seventh-day Sabbath. You will buy the lie that Easter replaces Pesach, or Passover. And you will buy the lie of Martin Luther and the men at the Vatican that somehow the Jews are of the devil. You will drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Because the Gentiles are enemies of the Jews. And those who are friends of the Jews among the Gentiles, like Rahab, will escape. They will escape with the Jews to Mount Zion. It's just that simple. Now, in my last video, I explained that you may not partake of these evil practices and traditions of the Catholic Church that all Protestant churches do. And you may not then turn around and eat of the bread and the wine in your communion or whatever you call it, because if you do so, you'll be found guilty. It was Paul who said you will be found guilty of the blood of Yehoshua the Messiah. In other words, you'll be found guilty of murder. The Gentiles, they say that the Jews killed Jesus. Well, with their continual burning with the wrath that came from drinking of the wine of the wrath of the whore's fornication, Rome's fornication, is going to cause you to also be forced to drink of the wine of the wrath of Yehovah. So I hope I've explained Revelation 18 and 17, where it talks about right here, for all the Gentiles have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. All of them. I hope you understand it now. And I hope you understand what's coming soon. Because there's no more time left. And all the time after 2016 on the Roman calendar is borrowed time. This is what I'm trying to say, what I've been trying to say for a long time. Any day after Shavuot of the year 2016 on the Roman calendar, any day after that, every day after that is borrowed time. We are on borrowed time. From that day and forward, before that, quite frankly, we should have all been preparing ourselves for a great and terrible day of Jehovah's wrath that is to come. Because we're on borrowed time. So keep your eyes open. Do whatever is necessary to extricate yourself from the wine of the wrath of the fornication of Rome before the great and terrible day of Jehovah's wrath comes. Do it.